Hello, my name is Bryce Tells. With me today is Ryan Sarkkinen, and he is helping business owners achieve freedom through their business. He's a business growth and finance mastery coach at RS Coaching. I am so excited to be able to have this conversation and share with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Ryan.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Bryce.
You're welcome. And before we go any further, for those watching, if you're watching this from any location that's outside of our free community, I just want to personally invite you inside. It's taken a very, very long time to cultivate such a positive group of people who want to see each other succeed. So if that's you, go on ahead and click on the link either above or below the video. We'd love to have you in. Now, Ryan, what was life like before you got into coaching? And really, what was the catalyst that brought you into the space?
So before I was working a 9 to 5, if you will, and I felt like so many folks do that life was not progressing at the rate I wished and I believed it should be. The promotions were slow in coming, the advancement within the company, and I wished to just do more with myself, more with my life. The job I was in had some aspects of it that were fun, but ultimately it just got to be kind of a plateau or just lack of progress in a rapid enough pace. And wanted to do the whole self-employed thing, but it took me a little bit. I consider starting a landscaping company. I consider starting a fencing, a siding company, something that I could do that would just be running my own business. But then when I first started helping my wife's single aunt with her finances, I said, hey, man, this coaching stuff is where it is at. This is the schwiznay, if you will. So one thing led to another. A few years into it, I finally was able to say goodbye to the 9 to 5, and that has been, it'll be 13 months now here in another couple days.
Congratulations. So that means a little bit over. Nice. Great. That's really great. Let me ask this question. So now that you're kind of in it and you've kind of had your chance to get your feet wet, which one would you rather have, the 9 to 5 or the business that you're in now?
No question. That one is such a clear answer. So yes, was there some aspects about the 9 to 5 that a person will occasionally look back on with fondness? Sure. there was a group of people that I was friends with that I hung out with on it every day. And it was in an industry that I enjoyed the subject I was in. So I got to talk about that. And, having a regular paycheck, there's times that can be desirable when going the self-employed route, right? But no, in the grand scheme of things, I had a commute that was 2 hours every day sitting in a car. I had extra stress, and ultimately I broke down with a nervous breakdown with anxiety because too much stuff going not the way that I wished it would go. So that was kind of the last, and that was happened about 6 months prior to me finally just leaving. And that was kind of like, okay, I got to make this, I got to do this. And so I hustled and figured out a way to have it happen. So since then, obviously being on my own schedule doesn't mean I'm working necessarily any less. I know a lot of business owners get into business because they want to be their own boss and set their own schedule. Well, sometimes your boss is worse than the old boss you used to have. Well, that being said, there is a flexibility that being self-employed gives, and now I can structure my day around my wife and my kids, getting them off to school in the morning. Well, when there was school back before COVID, but that's just the overall thing. And then the ups and downs and being able to help people at higher levels than I ever would have been able to had I stuck in the 9 to 5, the quality of life, the satisfaction of a day is substantially better now.
Mm-hmm. That's funny that you mentioned both the flexibility and the day-to-day. It's weird. It's like people who aren't self-employed, they think you do nothing all day. But it's like, it's interesting, or they treat you like you have nothing to do all day.
That's better. Yeah.
Calls from work. Hey, let's go out to lunch right now. I can't. I'm working. No, you don't do anything. You work from home.
Yeah, you work from home. You set your own schedule. What do you mean you can't show up and hang out for an hour?
It's like, well, the same reason I can't just do that in an hour is the same reason I can go leave, to go to Ibiza for a week if I feel like it. It's like the trade-offs.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you this question. So nowadays, what problems are people trying to solve when they come to work with you?
You betcha. So a lot of it is stress and overwhelm with running their business.
Hmm.
So a lot of it is financial overwhelm or lack of cash flow that's positive in their favor. There's employee issues, having team members that don't seem to be bought into the company culture, who are acting out of all, the whole, they're only in there for the paycheck as opposed to loving the company or the bosses they're working for. And the vision thing, so many business owners are so caught up in running the business that they can lose sight of what their bigger vision is in life. And getting back to why a business owner does go into business for themselves, that freedom and flexibility and all that kind of stuff, working 14, 16, 18-hour days, it gets tough to sometimes remember that bigger vision for what there is they're doing. So by coming about that, and then it's the whole approach. So the getting the business streamlined, making sure the cash flow is happening, and making sure the team is a team filled with A players only, who are all just doing it and doing it extremely well, which makes the end game, the boss is able to have the time off that they're wanting. They're able to have the cash flow to keep the business afloat, and they're able to relax and not have the stress of how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to do this? Taking care of upset clients, all the frustrations that come about running a business.
Let's say that for example, a business owner, they might be a solopreneur, maybe they're a life coach right now, and they have money because they have some clients coming in, but the thing they lack is maybe time. So they're stressing out or overwhelmed with the lack of time they have. Maybe can you give maybe one or two tips of what they can do to either start recognizing the time they do have, or how to add time to their life, basically?
Absolutely. So I have a time abundance self-assessment, if you will, where they can figure out where they're at and give themselves a grade on how time abundant they feel they are, from the lack of time to I have all the time in the world mindset. And by identifying those key points, and there's several, like 8 or 9 questions in there that are kind of different subcategories under the time constraints, we can identify and work on shifting the mindset around that time scarcity and helping realize the consequences of their actions as they're happening. And it's not that there's not enough time in the day. There's behavior that is taking place that is not capitalizing on the best use of that time. There's a variety of tools I can use. The needle movers, what's moving business forward versus what is causing you to spin your wheels. There's the whole, wanting to promise the world for your client, because that's, we're coaches. We want to help our clients in the best way that they can. So we tell them yes, 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 but we end up disappointing them because we might overpromise. And so to compensate for disappointing them, we promise more, which is just a downward spiral. But then also figuring out where we can start to bring in talent outside of ourselves is a huge one. If there's something that you're spending a lot of your hours on that can be outsourced, some of the first thing is your bookkeeping, for example. Getting a bookkeeper on board to help you. So all you got to do is, when a payment comes through or something happens, just send it all to them and they can have it all happen, because bookkeepers, they got that stuff automated. Solopreneur, the independent business owner, spends a whole lot more time working on that stuff than it would be worth it to have somebody else do it. Of course, you do need to have some money coming in to be able to pay for that service. But if that's not something that you enjoy doing, by all means, figure out a way to reduce the amount of time you have to spend doing it. And then also, when it comes to the time thing, there's certain things that every business owner does that they do best, that they love. Certain things that part of running a business that they don't do, and those are the things that are often avoided and put off until last minute, or sometimes they fall through altogether. So identifying what those are to make sure that they're happening in a priority basis as needed, and that they get done before they get to a deadline. And so then if you're proactive with your time management, when the deadline comes, it was already done several hours ago or a few days before. whatever the exact situation might be. And the stress of that, feeling like there's not enough time, deadlines, all that kind of stuff just kind of melts, and you start shifting from the time scarcity to the time abundance mindset.
That's a great point, man. That's a great point. Let me ask you this question. So kind of, as we kind of look towards the future, what's the vision look like for you in your life for as far down the road as you'd like to maybe think or talk about?
Absolutely. I'm living in Montana. I've got a nice place, room for me and my family, overlooking the Flathead Valley. I got an office that I can sit there, and I've got a view from my office. When the snow's falling in the winter, I can watch the snow falling from the comfort. There'll be a crackling fire in the fireplace. And I've got clients that are at that point where they're coming in because of the content that I provide, the trainings that I'm out there. I have a level of different services that I provide. Currently, it's one-on-one coaching, but my bigger vision is I have a mastermind group that is filled with high-end people that we get together on a quarterly basis, like a 1 or 2 day intensive. And then I have the one-on-one clients, and then I have like the one-to-many group programs, workshop type things. And then at the lower level, I have just the mass program, or books, or like the newsletter and all that kind of stuff. So that's the overall structure business wise, and life's flowing along.
Nice. Let me ask you this question. So right now, I think you just touched on your one-on-one offer. Maybe where can people go to learn more about what you have going on, or where can they go to connect with you further?
Certainly. So my website, ryansarkkinen.com, RyanSarkkinen.com. I'm also on Facebook, Ryan Sarkkinen, LinkedIn, Ryan Sarkkinen. Connect with me there. I provide content through those social media platforms as well.
Excellent. Thanks for your time today. It was really fun getting to know you and just talking to you a little bit.
Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Nice. And, for those watching, this is kind of why we do this, because you need to be able to connect with people who are like-minded and, trying to make progress in their life. That's kind of why we created our free community, because it's a bunch of people that sort of form a mastermind. We all come together, support each other, give each other advice and tips to kind of move forward in our lives. So if that's what you've been missing, come and join us by clicking the link either above or below the video. Now, Ryan, kind of a bonus question. Over time, when we're trying to go through our life and go through our vision, there are milestones. And generally in the past, people would talk about the success or not success. What does the word success at this very moment mean to you?
Success means that my wife is not stressing about money. My wife grew up in a household, so I'll back it up. Her grandmother grew up in the Depression era and harbored a lot of those scarcity things around money. My mother-in-law inherited them very strongly, and my wife also. So to me, that is when it's going to be, when the subject of money or stress about money is just off of the plate altogether. And there's made substantial progress that direction, but I'm still looking for when that's even at a better state.
That's going to be great, man.
It's going to be awesome.
Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate getting to know you a little bit better.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And for those watching, hopefully you found this as enjoyable to watch as it was to create. Once again, please join our community. Hopefully you have a great day. We'll see you later. Hit the share button so other people can get some great value. We're done recording in 3 and 2 and 1, and see you guys.